They absolutely probably have more evidence in their favor in terms of the U.S. government's been studying this for a long time. There's parts of the U.S. government that have zero doubt, quote unquote, that non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction has been long going, and government officials are aware of that fact.
Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, coming at you live through the goddamn internet. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about a familiar figure. It rhymes with Hines. So yeah, there's a really good video today. Check this fucking out.
I believe the coup de grace will be coming sometime this year with someone that everyone would recognize if they watch, if they paid attention to the news. You would know this person.
So apparently there's a connection between Bitcoin and UAP. Check this out. It gets better as the video goes on.
It's kind of funny to me that this policy question and this philosophical question and technical question about the potential future emergence of artificial superintelligence is fully within the Overton window now, right? You have senators getting briefed on it. It's kind of the big debate in Silicon Valley and San Francisco is bringing about the AGI God, and we're close, and when is superintelligence going to emerge, and billions of dollars of capital being spent building this hyperscale cloud and training clusters. People fully accepted this as a live possibility could happen in the next 3 to 5 years. What would be the disruptions to society if we created such a system? Fully normalized part of the discourse now is this, what was previously considered this sort of wild internet fringe belief that you could create, a supermind. And I think UAPs are not part of that conversation, but they absolutely probably have more evidence in their favor in terms of the U.S. government's been studying this for a long time. There's parts of the U.S. government that have zero doubt, quote unquote, that non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction has been long going, and government officials are aware of that fact. What I just said was quoted by retired Colonel Carl Nell, who helped draft the UAP Disclosure Act. So we're in this weird state of cognitive dissonance, in my view, where subject that is taboo, that shouldn't be, right? That's very real and very serious for a large portion of the security apparatus, but hasn't diffused into the public consciousness. UAPs, sort of being, it's slowly moving in, but it's still kind of marginalized as sort of a taboo fringe subject. Whereas the idea of artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence is fully normalized, is the basis for billions and billions of dollars of capital investment, very high level strategic policy discussions. We're actually leveraging a lot of this as part of our motivation for constraining China's technological development, blocking their access to advanced semiconductor and semiconductor manufacturing equipment. So it's having practical effects. But there's no high confidence consensus or belief that we're actually going to create a artificial superintelligence anytime soon. It's looking at a bunch of scaling curves and just extrapolating out. A bunch of just a chart of more compute, more capability, just draw the line up, and therefore AGI God, right? Meanwhile, there's folks inside the government that have craft materials, biological materials that have been studying this for decades. Most people aren't aware of that fact, and we're making pretty strategic policy decisions and having normal debates around this artificial superintelligence question, and having a serious discussion, and we're sort of snickering at this UAP question. I'm guys,
same thing.
This is these should, maybe they are. I mean, separate question of the ASI question is whether it is as serious as it should be. I think it's a serious question, but the UAP question is just as probably more important than that question. And so that's all I'm just these are all important questions. They're all going to converge into our public discourse and our policy discourse in the next few years. And you just don't want to be surprised.
I don't know. I don't know any special insight into Bob Lazar other than what everything people speculate on him, and he has a pretty fantastic story about working at Area 51, seeing craft, maybe even seeing bodies, telling stories about Element 115 and some advanced propulsion system, and Roswell was real. This whole the whole story there. I think he's most likely a fabulist, but I also think that some aspects of what he's getting at are probably true, right? So I think you can reject him personally and also hold a decent credence in kind of the broad thrust of what he was saying. if you're just getting into the UAP stuff, I would not start with Bob Lazar. I think there's lots of other places to start
go deep, man.
that are much higher fidelity and also like a lot more serious. There's a company called Radiance Technologies that's based out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is in UFO lore where the craft was taken. But it's also, in actual reality, it's not to discount potential Roswell reality, but it's the head of it's where the foreign technology division is, where we capture and reverse engineer foreign technology. And so the Radiance Technologies is a defense contractor, affiliated with that. And they recently hired 2 folks from the U.S. government that were recently one the head of the UAP task force and 2 the chief science officer. And Renaissance Technology specializes in doing basically AI machine learning for our space surveillance architecture. So how to look for objects using our satellite capabilities and characterize them using machine learning. And the basic, gripe has been we've characterized only the objects we were trying to characterize. So everything else was noise and tossed out. If it wasn't obviously an ICBM or a hypersonic missile, it was meteorite, just throw it in the bin. No analyst even looks at it, right? That's how these systems work. They just generate huge amounts of data, and until someone asks to build a new classifier for a certain signature, you're not going to look at it. And that's basically what they're doing now. In the past 5 years, I think both Bitcoin and UAPs as a topic have evolved in the sort of Overton window along a similar trajectory. Yeah. And there's I think that actually has to do with some dynamics associated with social media and how these types of more somewhat fringe, ideas or kind of social organizations can sort of nucleate and create kind of a reinforcing dynamic that can generate through minority rule influence and to propagate through the wider social network and start to have salience in the broader sort of normie discourse, where Bitcoin is now becoming less of a fringe topic and now a normie topic of policy conversation. And there's an ironic synchronicity between the actual policy dynamics where there's a single senator, Senator Gillibrand, who's also been one of the key co-sponsors of crypto legislation with Senator Lummis. And she's also the key co-sponsor of the defining UAP legislation, amendments to the 2022 and 2023 National Defense Authorization Act co-sponsored with Marco Rubio. So I don't think there's any deep state weird conspiracy here. I think that it does show that these 2 things are indicators of a broader trend, I think, in how these topics can kind of become more to the center of discourse. But UAPs were not memed into existence. The U.S. government has been focused on these topics for decades. And in fact, the recent National Defense Authorization Act, the signature bill that funds our military, has 40 pages of provisions just on UAPs, which is the rebranding for UFOs.
Guys, please let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, okay? Give me a like, give me a share. Subscribe, notifications on. I appreciate all the support, and see you in the next one.